I'm so excited. I got caught. I cannot wait. Instead, I went and hid in the bathroom. Okay, we're already being chaotic and I'm sorry. And then you can also just like cause the fantasy land to happen in your head. Leave my brain as quickly as it came. As long as my booty ain't hanging out, I'm good. The Lord is all I need. Do what you say you're going to do. That doesn't negate the fact that I want the other things. Ooh, actually that totally ties in. If that ain't my husband, why am I liking it? Love that for me. I want to stop watch. Okay, I actually do need a stopwatch though. Howdy hey, and welcome to Brews with Bae. First things first, we'll start with the coffee. It's the usual, honestly. There's nothing new here. I'm excited to get a friend on so that we can actually talk new things about coffee and it's not just this. Actually, no, I take that back. I'm going to make my syrup again. I made like a raspberry syrup, simple syrup the other day. By the other day, I mean like a month ago. And it was honestly lovely. I was trying to recreate the latte that I got from Crema. That was a raspberry something latte and it was heavenly. And I'm also trying to recreate the Drips one that I got. That was a blueberry latte. I got blueberries and I got raspberries in the fridge right now. And I'm going to try and make a simple syrup of both so that I can make a fun little coffee. But I did not do that today. So we're running short on time these days. It feels like. Maybe I need to do another social media fast because I feel like I have no time. Whatever. There's a lot of things going on. I freaking love this coffee mug. I was going to try and do a different coffee mug today, but this one was calling my name. Oh, I haven't. I'm so excited. I have something coming in the mail very soon, and you will see it on an episode in the near future. It'll probably be on my Instagram before then, or my TikTok. So just, stay tuned. But I'm hoping it got finished printing, being made, being produced, and I cannot freaking wait to see it. So anyway, I was just testing out some things that I think would be fun to have, and I've got a couple products coming in. I'm so stinking excited. I cannot wait. Okay, we're already being chaotic and I'm sorry, but I'm also not because, welcome to the chaos. That is what this is. So anyway, okay, coffee is the usual. It's just Barista Parlor and it's Cabin Fever. They're pretty freaking good, not gonna lie. I also have their wow, I'm in a mood. I haven't even had this. That was my first sip of coffee. So I'm not caffeinated right now. I'm just really on fire for what the Lord's doing in my life right now and what he's teaching me. And so I think I'm just excited because I just had thoughts before this, which I didn't write down. And now I don't remember what they were. Oh, no, I do. Okay, hang on. I gotta make this note. The way I cannot just have a thought and then not write it down. Otherwise, I will forget. I will not know what I thought of. It'll leave my brain as quickly as it came. It's crazy. But anyway, I think I'm just really excited. I had a little walk with the Lord the other day and it was just fun to just dream about the future and dream about things that I want and that I think he's leading me towards. I don't know. Anyway, it was just fun. And so I think I'm just really excited about that. So that's probably where all this energy is coming from, because I also had an idea right before this. I was like, oh my goodness, I should do this for future episodes. Anyway, because I'm going to have friends on here soon. I literally got coffee with a friend the other day and I was like, we're going to need to do an episode, and she's down and I'm so excited. And I also want to have my grandfather on. I also am out of episodes. I think at this point, I think I have maybe one other one that's recorded that I can actually edit and put out. So we're down to the wire. I need to record some episodes. So there will be friends on very soon, probably in the next episode or two. So I'm excited. What was I saying? I was talking about coffee. Anyway, I'm having Cabin Fever coffee beans from Barista Parlor. I made just an AeroPress coffee, but I did go get some. This is why I got excited. I got some new decaf beans from Drips in Hendersonville. It's Swell, I think, is the coffee beans that they get from. I'm so excited to try them. I don't know that I've tried them before, so I'm pretty pumped. And also, I just need to go up to Drips in general because I love going over there to work. So maybe I'll do that tomorrow. Anyway, okay, so the coffee is the huge. I've had this coffee mug before, but we have exciting things coming, so stay tuned. Don't know what that accent was, but oh well. Welcome to the chaos. Okay, things I'm loving. This one I'm excited about. Okay, first, crocheting. I've said this plenty of times. I know I've talked about it a lot. I literally tell everybody that I'm into crocheting right now because I freaking love it. It is time consuming, which I really probably don't need a social media fast, probably need a crochet fast, but I really love crocheting, so I don't want to not do it. But it does take a minute because I'm kind of slow. But anyway, I've made some things and I'm excited. Okay, we'll do the one that's like less cute first. This was like my first go at a bag. She's not bad. She's not great. I have a different pattern that I want to try out. But can you tell I like green? Can you tell? But she's cute. She's a cute little tote. But the thing that I'm more excited about, stop. It's so cute. It's a little Coozie. I bought the pattern on Etsy. I'll have to put it in the show notes, what the pattern is, like who it's from. But is that not the cutest thing ever? A little watermelon Coozie. I made this for a friend for her birthday. It's not in the mail yet, which it's past her birthday, so sorry, but it's coming. Anyway, I'm so excited. I think they're so stinking cute. I'm making myself a strawberry one because y'all don't know the story behind the strawberry yet. One day I will probably tell it, but strawberries have like a very meaningful place in my heart at the moment. And so anyway, I'm making a strawberry one because I think it's really freaking cute. What else am I loving? Draw the Circle. It's a book by Mark Batterson. It's a 40-day prayer challenge something. My friend and I are doing it and I love it. I just ordered it honestly to give to a couple people because I'm like, it has just like kind of transformed the way that I've prayed and the way that I view prayer and the way that I like even just view the Lord. It's just challenged me in a lot of ways that are really cool, and hearing other people's stories. I think I said this in last week's episode, but when you get to hear stories like that, it just builds your faith because you're like, oh, he showed up there. Like, so he can do it. He will do it, which the Lord does not always answer prayers the way that we want them. And he does not always give us what we want, but his will, what he has for us is best. And so no matter how he answers, it's going to be better than what we initially thought, even if you might be disappointed initially, but then in the long run it's going to be better. So anyway, it's just like a lot of stories about prayer and the way that it's just transformed people and transformed lives and just the way that the Lord's shown up in that. And so I think that builds faith, and getting to hear those stories is just fun and is a faith builder. And the more you kind of see it in your life too, because I think it's easy to read the Bible and be like, oh, this was like way back when, he doesn't perform miracles anymore, but he does. Like, he still performs miracles. He still is moving. He's still an active and living God. And so a lot of times I think when we read the Bible, it's like these crazy stories that our minds can't really fathom. To raise a person from the dead seems absolutely absurd. To cause a river to dry up and like to stop all of a sudden when the Israelites were crossing the Jordan into the promised land, the priests or whoever was holding the ark, they stepped into the river and then the river stopped flowing. And it said like it piled up further up at the next city over and they were able to walk on dry ground. Like that, I can't comprehend that actually happening. Like, I can't visualize what that looks like. One day I'm going to ask the Lord, I'm going to be like, can you give me a screen and show me what that was? Because I want to see. Because I'm like, I can't, like, my mind just cannot comprehend that. And same with the Red Sea, like parting the Red Sea. So it was like walls of, like, I want to know what that actually looked like. So my mind can't comprehend those things. So for me personally, at least, when I read the Bible and see these miracles happen, it's like, yeah, like this is like a really cool story. Sometimes it's hard to accept as reality. As like, it actually happened, but the Bible is true and everything in it is true. And so those stories are real stories that actually happened. And so I think sometimes it's hard for my mind to like comprehend that. But then when we get to see these moments in life today, they're still crazy stories, but I think coming from like a 21st century perspective makes it a little bit easier. I don't know. Anyway, I think it's just been a really cool book to kind of just like build my faith and build my prayer life, honestly, and just challenge me to pray bolder, bigger prayers, to just give the Lord an opportunity to like really show up and show out and just use those things as a testimony. So anyway, I'm loving it. I highly recommend it. Oh, the last thing, this is just like a random little thing, but I'm loving the song Nothing Else by Forrest Frank and Thomas Rhett. Thomas Rhett actually has some freaking bangers that he's featured on right now. Nothing Else. Okay, these are just two, but like he's on A Bar Named Jesus by Adam Doliak. Love that song as well. But Nothing Else, if you listen to that song and you don't immediately have a mood boost, I don't know what's wrong, because immediately I'm so happy. I woke up with a good thing laying by my side. I got my family, Jesus, and my help. And if I got all that, I really don't need nothing else. Anyway, I love that song. You should listen to it. Anyway, I think that's all the things that I'm loving at the moment. So we'll move on. Okay, so if you haven't listened to part 1, go back, listen to part 1. But part 1 is talking about how to prepare well in your season of waiting, in your season of singleness, for your future relationship, for your future husband or wife, if you're a dude. And then how to support and show up well for your single friends. I have lots of thoughts on that, so I kind of condensed and gave my main takeaways. But yeah, I feel pretty strongly about that. I've been single pretty much my whole life, so I have lots of thoughts on how to show up well for your single friends in a way that's not like one demeaning or discouraging. How to do so in like an encouraging and uplifting and loving way. Okay, I wanted to make a couple clarifying points on this previous week's episode on part 1, because I had a friend call me and she was like, me and our other friend were listening to the podcast and we think you need to follow the Montana Boys. Like, it's fine to follow people that are attractive. I'm not saying that it's bad to follow people that are attractive. I'm not saying that it's bad to engage with that content. Like, you do you. I don't want this to sound judgmental in any way, shape, or form. So please do not take last week's episode or this week's episode as any form of judgment. Like, there is zero judgment. Everybody has different convictions. Everybody has different thoughts and opinions on how they want to handle things. I think the same goes with like modesty. Like, people view modesty in different ways. Certain people are convicted of certain things. Like, I still wear my little short shorts, and like I'm currently wearing spandex shorts right now. Granted, they're longer than they used to be, but like I still wear like leggings and I wear short shorts and whatever. And some people would say that that's not modest. I consider that modest for me. I think everybody's convictions are different. So yeah, there's that. I think a lot of things, even when it comes to modesty, but I'm not trying to get on that topic right now, but like when it comes to social media, I think intention is a lot of it. And for me, that's kind of what I'm trying to pay attention to, is my intention behind following people, my intention behind what I'm posting. It's all about the intention. And like, anyway, just making sure that whatever I'm doing is honoring the Lord and honoring my future husband in whatever way that looks like. And I would hope he would be doing the same. I think you just have to listen to your own convictions. So for me personally, that's just why I'm not following certain accounts anymore. Also, I'm trying not to be on social media that much anyway. So the things that I'm consuming, I want to like truly be consuming. I don't want it to just be like fluff that I'm consuming, you know? So anyway, that's my own thoughts. I think there's a lot of different viewpoints and opinions. So like, again, I just don't want this to sound judgmental. It's not coming from a judgmental place. Everybody has their own convictions. Same goes with like modesty. Like, people view modesty differently. Like, some people don't think short shorts are okay. I wear short shorts constantly and I have no problem with it. As long as my booty ain't hanging out, I'm good. Anyway, I'm just saying, listen to your own convictions. There's no judgment here. Do what you need to do. And then also on the bikini post thing, like, I stand by the fact that I like would not want my husband to be liking certain posts, but it's all dependent upon, I think, how the post is, like what the intention behind the post is. Like, if I wouldn't want my like dad or my grandfather or a 12-year-old boy to like it, I don't want my husband liking it, you know? That's kind of how I view it. And that kind of goes same for like how I'm showing up on the internet. If I wouldn't want my dad, my grandfather, or a 12-year-old boy to like the content, probably shouldn't post it, right? Because like the reality is I'm a public account, so anybody and everybody can see it. That's kind of like the lens that I try and view things from, of like, would I be okay with like a 13-year-old girl or boy seeing it? Like, would I be like, ooh, I don't want that to be the perception that they have of me, or that's the role model that they have in a woman. Like, that's kind of where I view things. Anyway, I could go on a different tangent about how to show up on social media. That's like a different thing for a different day, but at the end of the day, I'm just saying, there's your judgment here. That's not to say that you shouldn't follow the accounts that I said. Follow whoever you want to follow. And also, this is not at all in any way, shape, or form trying to come off as like holier than thou. I don't think I'm better than you. I promise. I know I'm not. So anyway, those are my thoughts on that. Okay, I did want to add a couple little things. I think I mentioned this in the first episode, but I think I kind of like breezed over it pretty quickly. But I do just want to like make a point to say how thankful I am that I'm in this season and that I've been in this season of singleness and waiting. Granted, I'm ready to get out of it. I'm ready to find my husband. I'm ready to start a family. I'm ready to do that. But I am thankful that the Lord didn't answer my prayers previously when I was praying them in the timing that I would have wanted back then, because there has been so much growth. I've just like, I feel like I am night and day different from who I was 5 years ago, 3 years ago, even, honestly, definitely 10 years ago. And I'm sure I was praying 10 years ago that I was going to meet my husband. Like at 19, heck yeah. I probably was like wanting to get married at like 22. So I am just so thankful that the Lord did not bring my husband in that time, because I just don't think I would be doing the things that I'm doing now. I don't think I'd be where I'm at now. Granted, the Lord would work everything for his good, and so he would meet me where I was at in those moments. But yeah, I'm just thankful that I've had this season, even though it was harder, like even 6 months ago. I don't know that I would have said that. I think I would have been like, I'm freaking ready to be out of this. I hate being single. Whatever. I probably would have had a lot of different opinions. But now, as I've grown and as the Lord has just like shown things to me and just like worked in my life, I'm able to look back and be like, no, wow, I'm so thankful that I've had this season of singleness, even though it's been longer than I would have wanted, and the season of waiting has been longer than I've wanted. I am so dang thankful for it, because I'm just thankful that I wasn't entering marriage at the stage that I was at previously. I think I've finally, and honestly just very recently, probably come to a point where I'm like, no, I know that the Lord's enough. Like, I still desire to be married. I still desire to have kids. I still want those things. But I think I've finally come to a point over the past few months, even honestly, over the last like year, but definitely more so over the past few months, where I'm like, nope. The Lord is all I need. Like, that is a relationship that matters most. That doesn't negate the fact that I want the other things, but I just know that that is most important. So if there's something that's going to jeopardize that, I don't want it. Yeah, I've just finally gotten to a point where I'm like, no, I know that the Lord's enough, and I'd rather be single than be in a relationship with somebody who's bringing me down, who's like pulling me away from what the Lord has for me, if that makes sense. Which kind of goes into some verses that I wanted to say. So these are some verses that I'm kind of like praying over and that I'm just kind of clinging to in this season. The first of which goes along the lines of like truly getting to a point where I am just like loving the Lord, and I know that he's enough. Okay, so Psalm 37:4. Okay, Psalm 37:4 says, delight yourself also in the Lord, and he shall give you the desires of your heart. And verse 5 says, commit your way to the Lord, trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass. He shall bring forth your righteousness as the light and your justice as the noonday. Honestly, that whole section, like, rest in the Lord and wait patiently for him. Do not fret because of him who prospers in his way, because of the man who brings wicked schemes to pass. Cease from anger and forsake wrath. Do not fret, it only causes harm. That whole little section, honestly, so good. That was verses 4-8. But specifically 4 and 5 are the ones that I've like really been praying over, because I truly feel like it like clicked, and I'm like, oh no, I like delight myself in the Lord. Like, I enjoy my time with him. I enjoy getting to talk to him. I enjoy like my quiet time and my prayer time. And anyway, and then that goes into that verse, continues and says, and he shall give you the desires of your heart. Granted, I'm not saying that like if I desire $1 million, he's going to give me $1 million, but I think if it's in line with his will, he will give you the desires of your heart, as long as you're delighting yourself in him. You're finding your joy and your value and your identity in him, and committing. I mean, it says commit your way to the Lord, trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass. Anyway, that's a verse that I've been like really praying over, and one that I've just been like really praying is where I'm at. I do feel like I'm there, and that's kind of like what I was saying. I feel like I'm finally to a point where I'm like, no, the Lord's enough. Like, he is what I want. He is the most important relationship in my life. I think because of that, I can also still desire things that I want, and he will bring them if they're in his will and if they're the desires that he's given me, I guess. And I do believe he's given me the desire to be married. So we're praying that he comes along, but we're not desperate. So there's that. Okay. Also, Luke 16:10. This is talking about stewarding things well. And so that's kind of where this goes along so many different lines, like with business and everything else, like finances, all that. But specifically, even just with like social media, that's kind of something that I was kind of looking into, of like stewarding my singleness well in a way that I can be trusted in this season, so I can be trusted in a season of marriage when there's more on the line. But anyway, Luke 16:10 says, he who is faithful in what is least is faithful also in much, and he who is unjust in what is least is unjust also in much. Therefore, if you've not been faithful in the unrighteous mammon, who will commit to your trust the true riches? And if you have not been faithful in what is another man's, who will give you what is your own? Ooh, actually, that totally ties in. This is out of context, but like, if you've not been faithful in what is another man's, who will give you what is your own? That was like talking to another dude. So, like, for the women, if that ain't my husband, why am I liking it? You know? Anyway, not that you can't like other men's posts as a whole, but just like the intention behind it. And then the last one, Matthew 7:7-8. This goes along the lines of prayer and like praying for things that you think the Lord's given you a desire for or put on your heart. Okay, Matthew 7:7-8. Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and it will be open to you. For everyone who asks receives, and he who seeks finds, and to him who knocks it will be opened. Or what man is there among you who, if his son asks for bread, will give him a stone, or if he asks for a fish, will he give him a serpent? If you then, being evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father who is in heaven give good things to those who ask him? Therefore, whatever you want men to do to you, do also to them, for this is the law and the prophets. So yeah, just like continuing to pray for things in faith that the Lord's going to provide if it's something that I truly believe that the Lord's put on my heart for a reason. So anyway, those are just some random thoughts and additions that I wanted to add. But part 2 is going to talk about, I think I said hot takes, not hot takes, mild takes. Anyway, and things that I learned, lessons that I've learned. Oh yeah, because the dating story is in there. That's embarrassing. But yeah, so enjoy the rest of this episode. Okay, so now things that I'm learning. One, I think 2 just like random tidbits for me personally. I don't want to lead people on just for the sake of feeling better about myself. I think it's easy to fall into this temptation to want to keep somebody around, to continue texting somebody just because it gives you that like little like ego boost or that hit of, what is it, serotonin or like whatever, where you like feel better about yourself, that confidence boost because you're like, oh, well, they still care. Don't just lead somebody on just for the sake of leading somebody on. If it's somebody where like the only reason that they'd be around is to date them, but you have no intention of dating them, just move on. Don't waste anybody's time. That's just rude. And then something that is in like a massive pet peeve of mine is when people don't say whether or not it's a date. I get that like maybe it doesn't matter, but like, don't ask me to hang out if you are meaning it's a date. Either say it's a date. Like if you say hang out, I'm assuming we're friends. I'm going to assume that you're not interested. Or I'm going to be like, I don't know if he's interested. What is he thinking? Just say if it's a date. It's not that hard. It's genuinely not. So anyway, that's just like a huge pet peeve of mine because that's 2 different things in my mind. So anyway, okay, so things I'm learning. Pray about it. This is cliche to some extent. I literally have prayed, and I cannot tell you how many times I've prayed this, but I've prayed if there's somebody in my life, I'm like, if this is not from you, God, if this is not what you have for me, remove it. Remove that person from my life. And so far, it's happened every time. But I think sometimes, especially for me as an overthinker, I can get caught in this spot where I'm like, okay, well, like maybe the Lord wants me to still be in this and like I'm supposed to do X, Y, or Z, or I'm supposed to bring them to this, or I don't know, like I get caught in this place of like, I don't want to miss what the Lord has for me, but like, am I also not being obedient, doing what the Lord's telling me to do? Like, is he telling me to leave the situation, or am I supposed to stay in it? And like maybe that's what I'm supposed to be doing. So I get caught sometimes in this spot of trying to discern what the Lord has for me. I like can't make a decision because I'm like so afraid that the decision is going to be the wrong decision, which like I shouldn't be worried about because the Lord's got a plan and he will make, like, as long as I'm walking in obedience, he's going to make sure it happens the way that he wants it to happen. There is free will, so there's that, but like I think if you're seeking the Lord intentionally and you're being obedient, he will make sure that he directs your path. So anyway, I have prayed that a lot, and it has been a blessing every time that the Lord's removed the person. So I just think that's something that's, for me, that's something that's really important, is to just be praying about it consistently and intentionally. I have to be careful what you're consuming, which we've already touched on, but like I think it's very important to be careful what you take in because that will dictate how you operate and how you show up in your life. Let's see. I did have Song of Solomon 8:4, which says, I charge you, O daughters of Jerusalem, do not stir up nor awaken love until it pleases. That's something that I also pray a lot, is just making sure that I'm not. That sounds so odd, like awaken love at the wrong time, or what does it say? Do not awaken love until it pleases. But I think that's such a powerful thing to pray, especially if you're somebody who can get attached easily. And I think women specifically probably can get attached a lot easier. So I think praying that is a way to kind of protect and guard your heart, and just to make sure that you're not opening yourself up to things before the Lord has it in store for you. And you can kind of like read into that how you will, but if you haven't read Song of Solomon, I think it's wise, particularly the one about the Shulamite woman. I think there's a lot of wisdom to be found in that, especially if you're single. Things I'm learning, prioritize the big things. So like I said earlier, not prioritizing like looks necessarily. I'm not saying you shouldn't be attracted to the person, but I'm just saying maybe that's not the main reason. I think that's part of why I haven't gotten on dating apps, is it feels like it's a lot of like superficial things that you're looking at initially, which is fine. I mean, half the time when you're like meeting somebody in person, you're going to be more inclined to talk to somebody that you're attracted to. So I mean, to some extent, it's always going to happen. But anyway, just making sure that that's in the right spot on your list of priorities, because looks will fade. Again, I'm not saying that you shouldn't be attracted to the person. I'm not going to say that I'm going to like try and date somebody that I'm not attracted to, but just making sure that the other things are there, because like the non-negotiables, and I think finding what your non-negotiables are is important so that you know kind of what you're looking for specifically. I'm not saying like they need tattoos and they need to like play soccer, or they need to, I'm saying that because that was literally what I think I had on my list when I was in high school. Or like they need to, I don't know, love the beach. That kind of is something that I would really want somebody to do, because if you don't like hot weather, we're probably not going to work. I mean, maybe we will. Anyway, just make sure you prioritize the right things. You want things in common, but like you don't need everything in common. I've read a lot of books about a lot of random things in life. So I've got business books that I could recommend. I've got all the things, but I'm currently reading a book called Outdated by, I think, Jonathan Pokluda, I think is his name. And it's honestly a very convicting book, and it's a very challenging book in the sense that it like challenges you to kind of rethink things and change your perspective on things in dating. I'm not saying that you should settle, but I'm just saying we've been fed fairy tales since we were little. So like making sure that we're grounded in reality to some degree. But anyway, that's a good book. Also, Single, Dating, Engaged, Married. I think that's also a really good book, which I hadn't touched on this. I do want to touch on this real quick. I think there's such purpose in being single, and I think, and that's coming from somebody who is single currently, I think it's so frustrating to hear sometimes when people who are married or who are in a relationship say, oh, there's purpose in single, like enjoy your singleness, like it's a gift. I think sometimes that's hard to take, especially from somebody who's not single. But coming from somebody who is single, like, well, yes, I desire to be in a relationship, I desire to be married, I desire to have kids. I think there is such a gift in singleness, and I think that's where Single, Dating, Engaged, Married, I would highly recommend that book, because there are things that you can do as a single person that you won't be able to do when you're married. Like, I don't report to anybody. I don't have to tell somebody when I'm coming home. I don't have to check in and be like, hey, can I go on this girls trip? Hey, can I go on this mission trip? Hey, can I go serve at this thing? I can do whatever I want whenever I want, because I don't report to any, like, and not to say that like you report to your husband, but like to some extent, like especially if you have kids, like somebody's got to take care of them. Like, you're not just going to go ditch your husband for 3 days and then be like, oh, sorry, I was just like, I decided to go do this thing. Like, probably not going to do that. It's probably not going to go over well. So there is like a gift in being single, in that like you can be, one, you could be selfish, but I think even better, you can be very selfless during your singleness, and you can serve really well and serve in a lot of aspects that you might not get to otherwise. So that's something that like I've had to be prayerful about, and just making sure that I'm not missing what the Lord has for me in this season of life. And that goes for like just in everything, but like not just in dating, but I think just being aware and attuned to what the Lord's kind of leading me towards in this particular season, and what he's trying to show me and things that he's trying to get me to do, because I may not have the same time that I have at this present moment in the future. And so I want to just take advantage of the time that I do have, and it not all be just for self-centered reasons. Like, yeah, I love to go travel, but like let's also be serving, because I can serve in different capacities, and I can serve more than I maybe can in the future if I'm in a relationship or if I'm married, because you've got to prioritize that relationship as well. And also then you could actually like go serve in ways that maybe your married friends can't serve, because they've got, or especially people with kids, like maybe they can't go serve late at night, but like you can go do that because you don't have to make sure that so-and-so gets their bath and dinner's made and everybody's in bed on time. Like, you have a bit more freedom. So I think just like being intentional in your season, whether that's single, dating, engaged, married, whatever that is, being intentional in that season and making sure that you're taking full advantage and like getting the most out of it, and not just like wishing it away, because I think it's really easy to wish something away and just be like, oh, I can't wait until X, Y, or Z, or I can't wait until I get married because then I can go do this. That's part of why I travel so much solo, and that's kind of why I started traveling solo. I know my family would probably love it if I had somebody to go with, and that goes like friend or significant other. I'm just saying in general, like don't wait until, don't be like, well, once I'm married, then my life will start. Or once I have a house, then things are going to get better. There's always going to be something that you're looking towards. So really be present in the moment and take advantage of what's happening there. And sure, yeah, it would be a lot cooler if I could go, I want to go see the Northern Lights. And I had a friend say, they were like, oh, well, that would be a fun trip whenever you meet somebody, to go with them. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm not going to wait until then. If I have the opportunity to go see them now, I'm going to go do it now. Because if I'm waiting until somebody else wants to do the thing, or waiting until this thing happens in order to do it, then I'm going to miss out on a lot of life. I want to be as present as I possibly can. I don't want to be like, oh, well, I should wait because one day this thing that I hope will happen will happen. And while, yes, I hope all those things will happen, and I hope I'll be able to travel and do all that with my husband one day, but I'm not going to miss out on the opportunity now to do the same things, because I'm only this young once. I'm only in this body, and at this particular time, at this level of health, at this time, I'm going to take advantage of the time that I have. So I think just also being present and not wishing away your singleness, because there's purpose in it. And maybe one day you're going to be like, man, I really just wish I had a night to myself where I didn't have to be around anybody. That's probably going to happen. So enjoy the time that you have, even though sometimes it's hard. And I'm saying that from somebody who's single, and so I also know how that can be hard some days. Let your yes be yes and your no be no. And that's not actually what I wrote. I said say yes, but if you don't want to, you don't have to. This is where that story comes into play. So let me touch on these other things and we'll come back to that one. Okay, stay grounded in reality. That's something that I'm learning, not going through and scrolling their Instagram to figure out what they did in freaking 2011. I don't need to know. I can figure that in real life. I want you to tell me the story in real life. I don't want to go look for it myself, because then there's so many stories you can tell yourself that aren't reality. And then you can also just cause the fantasy land to happen in your head where you're like, oh, but one day I'll be blah. No. So I'm trying to be better about staying grounded in reality, which also means that I'm probably not sharing certain things with certain people, because I know that they may just feed into that delusion and that fantasy land. I think it's also important to have wise counsel in your life, people that you can talk to about it, but that will keep you grounded in reality, and that will not just tell you what you want to hear, but what you need to hear. I think in the past, I have a friend who I know will call me out. I know 100% if she sees something wrong, she's going to call me out for it, and she's going to challenge me, and she's going to ask me questions that I don't want to have to answer. She's in a different state, so she did actually ask me questions, and I would have fumbled if I was in real life. But specifically, she asked what I like about somebody or what they do to make me feel maybe secure in the relationship or something like that. And had we been in real life, she would have seen right through me, but because it was over text or voice memo texting, I was able to think about it and try and come up with an answer that she would be okay with. But I think, one, it's important to have wise counsel, but it's important to also be willing to be vulnerable with those people and be open with those people and share what you need to share with them. Because for me in particular, I know with a certain situation, I was very cautious about what I shared, because I knew if I shared certain aspects, she would have called me out on it and been like, no, Baylor, that's not it. You're not doing that. Sorry. That's not for you. That's not what God has for you. No. She would have at least challenged me in ways where I would have had to really think about it. And I just didn't want to. And so I was filtering what I was sharing. So I think it's very important to bring in wise counsel. For me personally, I think I'll bring people in earlier, maybe than I have in the past. I'm not saying date one, I'm going to be like, hey, you get to meet my no. But I do want to see them around my community. I want my community to know, because I am getting older. So I don't think you necessarily need to date for as long, but I also don't want to waste my time. And that sounds rude. Nobody's necessarily a waste of time, but if I can save myself time, I don't want to just be like, oh, I'm going to be in this relationship and drag it out just to figure out 3 months down the road something that I could have figured out 2 months ago. You know what I mean? So I think bringing in people and being open with those people early on and allowing them to kind of see and observe is something that I personally will do. And it's not to say that it's necessarily going to be family. I'm not going to be like, hey, you get to be my parents before we start dating. Probably not. But meeting friends, close friends that I know can kind of see through me, and or if they don't get to meet them, just being really open with my friends so that they can keep me grounded in reality and ask me the questions maybe that I don't want to hear, or ask questions that I need to be asked so that I can know for a fact and they can know and feel confident in what's going on. Because I just think it's important to have community and having input, but not having input that is just noise, if that makes sense. Listen to your gut. Oh yeah, listen to your gut. I think your body will honestly tell you things too before you realize it in your head. So listen to your gut. You're probably accurate, but also be prayerful. So I say gut, but really that's for me personally, that's probably Holy Spirit, but listening to what your body's telling you and what the Lord's telling you. Anyway, don't date potential. If he wanted to, he would. I think of the song by Kylie Morgan, which I think is literally titled If He Wanted to, He Would. Yeah. don't date potential, just date reality, because you don't know what they're going to do. That kind of goes back to like your yes be yes and your no be no. Like if they're going to, they're going to. I guess that's a tricky one, but for me personally, I'm going to be more cautious about like dating potential. I want to make sure that the potential is already kind of being lived into and that they're just growing in that potential. Not that they're talking about the potential, but not actually doing anything to grow into it, if that makes sense. Okay, let your yes be yes and your no be no. Like if you don't want to, you don't have to. This is where that story comes into play. So this is something that I'm trying to be more intentional of, is like being intentional about my answers. So like if I actually am going to do the thing, I'm going to say yes. If I'm not sure, I'm probably not going to say yes, because it just like eliminates a lot of confusion. It also eliminates a lot of just hurt that maybe doesn't need to happen. So when I was in LA, it's been years. So also don't judge me or you can judge me, but like I'm not the same person that I was then. So I don't do this anymore. But I met a guy at a bar. We were watching the Titans play in the playoffs. So like it's been a minute, but it was me and two of my friends from my hometown, because one was in town, him and his family. And then my friend that was living in LA that was also from my hometown. We all went to go watch this Titans game at a bar together. So I meet this person in real life, random stranger. We were like just chatting throughout the game. It was fine, fun, whatever. He asks my guy friend, for my number, which is fine. We texted for a little bit and he planned to date for like a week later or something like that. At that particular time, I did not have good boundaries with social media. So I went and I found him on social media and I did a deep dive, and I found out that he had like just gotten out of a long relationship. And then I was like, I don't even know. Like, I'm not going to say that. That's mean. I just wasn't sure that it was going to be a good fit. How I knew that? I can't know that, because I was just looking at whatever they were posting on social media, the life that they were portraying on social media. And specifically, I think it was just on Facebook that I was looking at. Anyway, I sound crazy. I'm aware of this. Again, this was years ago, probably my first year that I was there. So like, don't judge me. I'm a very different person now. But anyway, I had said yes to this date. A week goes by. We were talking about TV shows. I think at the time You was a very popular show. I lived by myself in LA. So that show's kind of sketchy to me. I think I had mentioned that show at the time to him. That was the thing that he like held on to as like, we have that in common. And so he mentioned it way too many times. So then I was like sketched out a little bit, because I was like, why are you so intrigued by the show? It was probably just innocent. He was like just trying to find something to have in common. Anyway, he asked me out. He planned a day. I ended up canceling like several hours before the date because I was busy with work, which I actually was. I did have a lot of stuff to do for work. I was just like, hey, I'm sorry. I like have a lot of work to get done and I'm just like not going to be able to get it done in time. So I just can't go tonight, or something to that effect, because I texted my friend and I was like, I've just decided, like, I've talked myself out of it. I don't want to go. I should have gone. It's just like, it's a few hours, like whatever. But at the same time, I was like, if I don't want to go on it, why am I going to go on it? I don't really owe this person anything. And so I was texting my friend and she was like, you're never going to see this person again because it's LA. Like, it's a massive city. I knew we had talked enough for me to know that he lived on a different side. Like, he lived in like Santa Monica or Brentwood or something, which was like far enough from where I lived that like I should never run into him. He didn't go to the gym down on my side of town. So like in my mind, I'm like, I'm never going to run into this guy. And so that's kind of what she said too. She was like, you're never going to run into this guy. It's totally fine. Like, you don't need to go. If you don't want to, don't go. And so I cancel and he takes it fine. It's whatever. Well, I decided to go to the gym, I think, that night, which I still had all that work to do. But I texted my bosses and I was like, hey, I'm going to go to the gym if that's okay. And then I'll come back and finish what I need to finish, just so I can like have like a mental break for a second. And they were fine with it. So I go to the gym and then my friends are like, hey, do you want to go grab dinner after? And so I was like, yeah, sure. It's like 5 minutes down the road. Might as well. It's like on my way home. It's not going to add that much time. So we decided to go to this like burger place close to my gym. I didn't think anything of it. It genuinely just didn't cross my mind. I was just like, whatever, it's fine. Like, I'm cool to go to dinner. And so we're at dinner and we're sitting by the door and it's 4 of us. It's me and a girl and then 2 guys. So it looks as if we're on a double date because we're sitting like girl, guy, girl, guy. The entrance is behind me and I'm sitting in a booth and you have to like go down this little thing and then there's like a counter. So it's far enough away, but I'm looking at my friend because I'm sitting on the outside and I'm looking at my friend and I can see in the reflection of the window, the counter, like where people are ordering to go and everything else. I look and I kid you not, the man I was supposed to go on a date with that night, like probably around the time that I was eating, was standing at that freaking counter. I was so shook. I was like, I panicked. This also tells you how immature I was at the time. I panicked. I'm like, what the heck? How does this happen? I'm looking at my friend and I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I was like, I've got to go. I was like, the guy that I was supposed to go on a date with tonight he's right there. And he was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, he's right. Like, I knew for a fact it was him. And so I panicked. I go to the bathroom to hide. Again, tells you yeah, I've got issues, whatever. At the time, I've since grown quite a bit. I would not do that to this day. I'm not proud of this, but I would literally go to the bathroom to hide. There's like a woman in there and she's like, what's wrong? And I'm like, I just like totally told somebody that I couldn't go on a date tonight, and he's now here. So I'm just hiding. And then I get a FaceTime or like a call or something, and it's from my guy friend that I was with the night that I met that guy. And so he's like talking to me, and I'm like, you will never guess. I was like, so I blew off that date. I like told him I couldn't go. I did cancel in advance, like several hours in advance. I was like, I decided I didn't want to go. I told him I couldn't go. And then I'm at dinner at a place that is not anywhere near where he lives. It's not where he goes to the gym. There's nothing that he does over here. Yet here he is at this burger place down the road from me. I panicked. And so I'm like texting my friend. I'm like, let me know when he leaves. And he's like, I don't even know what he looks like. I'm like, oh, it was so bad. It was so bad. But that's happened to me. Actually, has that happened to me again? I feel like there's another instance where it was something similar where it's like, I should never run into people. And then I freaking run into people that I don't want to run into. And I'm like, how does this happen? But I was like, that is the Lord just saying, haha, let your yes be yes and your no be no. Don't tell somebody that you're going to go on a date with them and then not go, or tell them that you can't go for a certain reason, but then you're like going and doing things otherwise. I just feel like that was honestly a big learning experience for me, to be like, if I don't think I'm going to want to go on the date, don't go on the date. And if I said I was going to go on the date, just go on the freaking date. Do what you say you're going to do. There's literally a Bible verse that says, let your yes be yes and your no be no. So that was just like a moment for me where I was like, okay, I got caught. So I'm going to be cautious the next time. I'm not going to do that again. So, and I haven't done that, I don't think, since then. I think even if I haven't like wanted to go on the date, I'm like, you know what? No, we're going to go on it. And I have had some interesting experiences as a result. But anyway, I just found that funny because I'm like, I didn't even go on a date with this man. And so that's why I'm sharing it, because I genuinely don't know what this person's name is. But it was just funny because I was like, you've got to be kidding me. I should not run into this person, especially in LA. LA is so big. How did I run it? Whatever. I was just like, wow, that's the consequence of my own actions. So anyway, that was my lovely little tidbit. I felt very uncomfortable. I don't think he saw me. He may have. He didn't call me out on it if he did. What I should have done is just sat there and been like, oh, hey, so good to see you, and just been excited to see him. And then I could have just been like, I ended up taking a break from my work for a second to go have like a mental moment to where I could get out of my head for a second to work out. We decided to grab dinner, but it's so good to see you. You want to join us or something? I could have done anything else. I like think about it. I'm like, there's so many better ways that I could have handled that. Instead, I went and hid in the bathroom. Love that for me. Again, that just tells you the immaturity level that I was at that moment in time. There's been a lot of growth since then. So don't judge me. Like I said, I'm very different now. I would not do that to this day, and I'm not proud of that, but that was a lovely time. Gotta love it. Anyway, I don't think I have anything else. That's really like kind of all I was talking about. This ended up being way longer. I think this is twice as long. I think this is 2 hours. So this will have to be split up. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I hope you maybe feel a little less alone if you're single. If you're not single, I hope you have just gained some insight into like what goes on in at least my brain. Maybe not every single person's brain, but it goes on in my brain. I hope you enjoyed. Again, I don't like saying bye. So until next time, I hope you have a great day. That's all I got. Deuces. Bye.